All right, Jerry, how you doing?
I'm good, Dana. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm excited to see all the folks jumping on here to talk about AI and forecasting, which you have a lot of experience. So we'll let the folks join here just for a few more
More,
seconds.
more experience in forecasting and been doing that longer than there's been AI, but yes.
All right. Well, you've seen it all, so that's going to be great. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining us today to talk about AI and forecasting. I'm Dana Markser. I'm the founder of IQ, and I have with me Jerry Ellis, who we go way back from, gosh, a company where I was CMO and you were CRO over a decade ago, Jerry. Scary thought.
Yep.
But we're working together now in IQ and excited to talk about AI and forecasting.
Right.
So let's just jump right in. And you're here because you know that AI and forecasting is inevitable, right? It's not, well, do we want to do it? Do we not want to do it? It is, we will do it. But the reality is you've got all of these folks rushing to adopt AI without, Gartner here on the slide is showing that 70% of companies will have adopted AI and forecast in the next 3 years. So, it's inevitable, but the problem is confidence is not. So Jerry, you have the practical experience here around, what are you seeing happening with the AI tools that are out there today, aside
Yeah.
from IQ?
So you see a lot of things, um, and and almost to some degree, it's too much about trying to predict versus draw attention. And so you see scores, but there's not good clarity behind those scores on what's driving the score. So you'll see a probability score generated by AI, and that score may be heavily driven off of activity. So there's a lot of email traffic, or we have a meeting scheduled, and so that raises up the confidence in that deal, and it gives it a good score. But that's just it's just one factor, right? And the other side of it is that is activity always an indicator? A lot of times we're doing, if activity is one directional, we're trying to get them to re-engage, and it looks like we're having a lot of email traffic. Is that really a measure? And so you see these things where what's driving the scoring, and I think that's where this challenge of confidence is. People are using AI in everything they can. They're looking for, how does AI help us with that? But they lose confidence pretty quickly when it really doesn't mean anything to them. I got a score and it just means nothing to me. It's not, I don't know what it's based on, or it's not based on enough information. And so you lose confidence in it. And so it's a continual process that people are going through.
Yeah, and it's, I think that confidence erodes because, the first times that it comes up wrong, and then it comes up wrong, and then it comes up wrong again, you're like, it's out, I'm never going to look at that again. Right.
Right.
And the reality is obviously that AI learns from the underlying data. And if the data isn't good, the AI just amplifies a bad system, right? So you talked about activity. Well, if the system isn't tracking activity, how would AI even know, right? So the reality is that um, AI can't help if you don't have that underlying data integrity, and that integrity comes from an intentional design, and the intentional design must be adopted by the organization and used consistently everywhere. And so, the reality is most companies don't design this, they inherit it, right? So you've got a CRM that's been around a long time. You haven't really defined how pipelines should convert. how expansion should happen, what churn patterns actually signal. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and it's like, okay, we just churned a green customer, right? We were blindsided because they didn't have, the right answer, or what healthy performance actually looks like. And so AI is learning from this underlying system, and it really is the hidden root cause.
Yeah, and the other piece is that there's not a good design to the model, but in forecasting today, specifically in forecasting, so much of it is intuitive across different revenue streams, products, etc. And so that makes it hard for AI to work, right? I mean, it sees a kind of a boilerplate model, if you will, that is set out for the quote unquote business versus the nuances of a region, a revenue stream, a product line, etc. Which the definition of each of these things that you have here, Dana, is different when you bring those things to bear. And so as that forecast gets rolled up, it's the intuitive nature of the forecaster and the person taking the forecast, that manager or higher levels of management, and factoring that in. And so it makes it really hard for AI to help and to be valuable because of that.
Well, you gave me a great setup there, Jerry, because the first is, how do we create a system on which AI can be trusted, right? In which AI is giving us the answers that we can trust, and they're consistently correct. So it all seems like motherhood and apple pie, but it starts with the go-to-market plan. It is, what are we trying to do? And it's shocking, really, when we go through our partnership with customers. We think we have a go-to-market plan, but when we actually do all of the definitions, there's no way AI could possibly know what that go-to-market plan is, right? So the very, very bottom line essential components of a go-to-market plan is, who are we selling to? What are we selling? How will we sell our products to those markets? And this is where you just talked about revenue streams, Jerry. Different groups of opportunities behave differently, right? If I'm selling my enterprise platform to new logos, those opportunities behave very different than an expansion sell into my customer base, right? Larger deal size, longer sales cycle, lower win rates. So understanding that go-to-market plan is critical, so AI can understand what you're trying to do. And when we look at that, our bookings targets are aligned, right? How are we going to make money in these revenue streams? And then strategic initiatives, what are we going to have to do to support this revenue design strategically? What are we going to have to do differently? It seems really simple, but this is critical.
Yeah, and I mean, it's as you look at this, and anybody that's listening probably says, well, I know my target markets, I know my ICPs, I know my personas, so I know that. How does that? Why is that a challenge? Well, a perfect example, a company that I worked with that had a pretty significant government business and a commercial business, and so those were known ICPs. We knew the ICPs, we knew the personas in that, but when you go to model that business, they're very different businesses. And so be able to be to drive the business, understand that, and then utilize AI in any effort of that is just very different. And you, Dana, you called out net new versus expansion. Just take a given product. Are you landing a net new logo with that product, or are you expanding with that product? Those everything about that sales cycle, that sales process what those booking targets are going to be different. And then the last piece, Dana, and we don't want to go down a rabbit hole here on the strategic initiatives piece, but this is a place where I do feel like the go-to-market planning falls down, and having all of that in place is going to help predictability and AI modeling as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love what you just outlined, Jerry, because the question of having the go-to-market plan is then how it impacts the design of the underlying systems that are going to track it, right? So, is your forecast model built from the go-to-market strategy, right? Are you forecasting your different revenue streams? Are you forecasting them based on the correct conversion logic? Are you looking at what your expansion model, once we get into a land in a company, what is our white space? What is our expansion? What does that pipeline architecture and conversion logic look like? Renewals, right? And what are the signals that signal risk for retention and churn? So all of these have to be designed, and they come from the go-to-market plan. And if you don't have that go-to-market plan, I'll give you an example. If you have a target market of North America businesses that have over 500 employees that operate in the retail segment. Okay, those are 3 pieces of data that you have to know for every single one of your accounts to make sure that you are looking at opportunities for that segment, which you have a bookings target for. That's 3 data elements that must be clean in your CRM, right? It's simple. And so once we have this defined, this is what sets us up to have accurate and correct revenue predictions, as well as resource requirements, which we're going to get to.
Yeah, it also there's a pretty big assumption there too, Dana, which is that they're in the same place. And so a lot of times that go-to-market plan is outside of your CRM, right? It's a spreadsheet plan, likely, right? You've put this into spreadsheet, you've modeled this, you've spreadsheet out your capacity. Now you're running your business. This is how we're going to go tackle the business. Now we're running the business. We're in the throes of battle, if you will. And now we have real accounts that we're working, and we have deals that we're running through the pipeline, and those opportunities are being tracked in CRM. And are the elements that we used in the model, you called it out. Do you have the data, right? Do you have that data there? But there's so much more behind that model. So in the model, you've taken into account sales cycle planning and conversion rates and those types of things. But in your forecasting, in your AI, that it sits on top of that CRM, is that there? And so again, this challenge of forecasting with AI, you're just creating that challenge or exasperating the challenge, if you will, by doing these in separate systems.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well said. And so, when you're talking about, AI tracking, it's, so many analytics tools out there will, say, oh, you're improving in, this pipeline size. Well, great. What does our pipeline size need to be? Right? So we might be improving. Do we have enough?
Right.
And that's where understanding the design of revenue is so critical. And as we've said, a lot of confidence erodes in AI when it's a black box. It's like, why are you coming up with that number? And I'm sure most of the folks on this call have experienced that. How did you even get that answer? And so step 3 here is make the model transparent. Understand what the assumptions are. And, for example, I've got a revenue stream here of selling my enterprise platform into new logo accounts. I have a bookings target. I have a growth plan. I understand what the seasonality of my sales are, and I have an average deal size. Now I've told AI this is typically what we want it to look like. Likewise, we have defined our sales process, and we understand how long each stage should be and what the conversion rate for each stage should be. And again, if you in the manufacturing space, it's, how are we deviating from the design? When we deviate from the design, we introduce risk. So create the expected design, which can be tracked for actual won deals and then improved. So that's how AI learns and improves. And once you have that model, now I know what my pipeline size needs to look like. Right? So the analytics tools out there that just give you, trends and data without any design or any goal or any target is gives you a false sense of security.
Right. And the key is doing that at the product revenue stream market level, not what I see too often, and I dealt with it a lot, was, hey, our conversion rates, are X, and so that we can use that predict our business, and that was the generic across the pipeline conversion rate. Sometimes it was a conversion rate of they would break it up between net new and install, but they didn't break it up by product. And to the call out that your enterprise solution, your platform deals take longer than point solution sales take if you have that kind of a model. And so all of that has to be taken into account and modeled individually, and that's what you're talking about here.
Mm-hmm. And this the topic of this webinar is not sales productivity, but you have to have this model and the understanding of how every stage needs to behave if you actually want to find your bottlenecks and where
Right.
you need to improve your sales productivity, not just overall win rates. And the conversion rate stage to stage is one of the most notorious metrics that CRMs really struggle with.
Right.
Okay, so now we have a model, right? We know what our pipeline needs to look like at any given time. We know what our conversion rate should be. We know how many deals we need. And that model then tells us, what does our sales capacity need to be? What is our pipeline size, and who's contributing to the pipeline? For example, how much pipeline does marketing need to contribute for us to hit our bookings targets based on our model? That is, I can't tell you how many times marketing teams just get handed a number and it's, okay, 30% more than last year. Well, there's a lot of things that drive that number. And so you have all the levers within the model to understand what does that mean? What are my MQL and SQL conversion rates? What's the assumption there? You get all of that transparently. And then, of course, from our renewals revenue stream, what does our model require from a GRR, NRR perspective, and give the CS team their marching orders? And once you have that model, then you see where the gaps are, right? The model tells you what you have to do and how many resources. And then you can say, do we have that or do we not? Investment decisions like, do we need more reps? How many more reps? How much do we need to add in marketing spend? Do we need to launch an add-on product? How is our sales productivity? Where do we need to focus to improve our sales productivity? That is the beauty of the model, is it tells you what you need to do, where you need to focus to be successful in the coming year. So this design becomes really the operating system for growth.
100%, Dana. And everybody tries to do this through, again, multiple tools and trying to track this, but getting that model and driving those investment decisions so that you can get out ahead of and predict where the challenges are going to be and get out ahead of them with good investment decisions is key to driving revenue and growth.
I also want to point out here that something really powerful happens when you bring these pieces together. You've now designed your revenue performance, and you've aligned your system. Now you know what your systems need to tell you. Just like I was saying before, well, I'm going to have to know which opportunities are in which target market, which opportunities are for which products. Am I going to have multiple products on the same opportunity? How do I want to handle that? And when that happens, there is nowhere for dirty data to hide. And I absolutely love this part, because I hear so often, well, we're not ready because our CRM data isn't clean enough yet. Well, I will tell you, if you don't know where to clean your data, it's never going to get there. And that's what the beauty of this is. Now I understand what my data needs to tell me, and where my data is not giving me the answers, or I have anomalies in my data, or my reps are not filling out these fields. It is immediately visible where you need to clean up your data, where you need to stabilize logic, where you need to correct automations. Once this happens, now you're set up for AI to learn and give you correct guidance.
Yeah, this is where AI can really help when you get into AI forecasting specifically. It can help in a lot of ways in your business. As you've gotten to this point where your models are there and you've got the data and you're working the data piece of it as well. But now you can start to really trust your AI, and not just trust it, but really benefit from it, so that you're not just getting a score or a predictability, but what you're really getting is direction. So there's risk in this forecast. Here's where that risk is. Here's why we're seeing the risk, or we're calling out the risk. And you can really start to now direct your teams. AI is not going to drive the business, right? You've got to go, we still run the business. We need AI to help us know where we're at risk and where there's opportunity. So at risk, we go focus, and we're focusing that risk with some direction. AI says, this is a late stage, slow moving deal based on our conversion. This timelines, this should have already converted. It calls that out to risk. The other side of it is there's opportunity. There's opportunity to accelerate. So we're seeing an increase in momentum here that really should bring that close date forward. So you should dig into that as a leader and look at an opportunity to push that to close, which all just increases capacity behind it. All of those things, now you're getting that call out. AI can really be helpful and be trusted because you got that data model in place.
Yep. And there was, we were doing some AI, natural language questions against our data model, Jerry. And we asked it, how can I hit my number in Q3? So we're sitting here in Q1. How can I hit my number in Q3? Good luck asking any AI system to answer that if they do not have this design, right?
100%.
Because AI came back and said, here is your best performing revenue stream with the enough pipeline for you to improve your conversion here and hit your number in Q3. Here are the areas at risk. And here's where you need to make sure you're continuing to do what's working. I mean, if AI didn't know what your revenue streams are, there's no way it can predict that it can produce
Right.
that answer.
100%. So many different uses. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dana.
No, it gets super exciting. You know what a data geek I am, Jerry. So, when we're able to query our data model with our AI tools, and it gives you the plan of attack, do these 4 things to hit your number in Q3.
Right.
That's the result of this. And it's super, super exciting. It's where we need to embrace AI, but give it the opportunity to work well.
Yeah, and the things that you called out on what the AI can now do because the models in place are so important to every CRO, right?
Hmm.
You know, when you can identify conversion shifts, when you can forecast more accurately. But I really go back to detecting that pipeline risk early, but more than just detecting that you have pipeline risk, really directing to where that risk is in that particular deal. There's so many variables, so many things in play when you're looking at a deal, and I think that's why a lot of sales leaders really struggle with AI because they know they think about and process all these elements. But if you can train the data model and get your data right, AI can direct you to where the risk is and allow you to go focus in on that, and forecast calls can become so much more meaningful and effective than just lengthy deal reviews.
Yep. So as you can tell, we're pretty passionate about this approach, and we focused today on how to set your system up so that you have a design of performance, and your AI can actually give you the output that is going to allow you to change outcomes. And so these are our philosophies at IQ. It's got to be a unified data model across financial, marketing, sales, and operational data. It has to serve the entire go-to-market team, and we have to do it with transparent analytics and assumptions so that you can verify the answer to your question so that you have AI that you can trust to run revenue. So that was a lot in a short period of time, Jerry, but we do have a couple minutes to answer a few questions. So if you haven't put your question into that question box, please do so now, and I think we have time to answer at least a few. So I'm just looking here. Okay. This is a you question, Jerry.
Okay.
How is this different from the forecasting tools already in CRM systems?
Yeah. So it'll go back to some of what we talked about early on, which is in most of your CRM systems, there is a disconnect between modeling work and that. So it's just basing it off of the data fields without any modeling behind it. So it's a guess to some degree, right? Or it is just a roll up and which isn't effective or helpful to really direct you to where risk is, or it's activity based. And so it's what the difference is when you bring the model and the data in, again, you're getting not predictions, but you're getting direction. You're getting direction to where you should be investing focus and inspection into that forecast, into that deal, to mitigate the risk, or again, we said accelerate the opportunity.
Yep. Well said. Okay. Next question, and I'll take this one. How long does it take to build a growth model like this? I love that question. So that IQ is built to house everything that you have seen in this presentation. So that is the philosophy of how we built the platform years ago, and we bring together the entire leadership team around what's our go-to-market. If you're asking how long does it take to put the go-to-market plan in IQ, I would say a couple of hours. You can put in your target markets, your offerings, define your revenue streams, your bookings targets. You can put in your sales process and your qualification and marketing processes and come up with models for all your revenue streams and output all your goals. That probably takes a couple of hours. The question is, what questions does that entire process beg? And what almost universally we see when customers are implementing IQ for the first time is an alignment exercise across the leadership team of the organization, right? So all of a sudden it's, okay, what really is our go-to-market plan? What is our bookings? What is our marketing budget? Right? So we get all of this activity where we set this initial go-to-market plan up, and then there's this alignment that happens. Okay, so I understand the model, I understand what I have to deliver, and then there's almost a debate that happens, right? It's like, okay, you're asking me to produce this much pipeline contribution from marketing, but this is my budget, and the model says my budget needs to be this because this is how many MQLs I need to drive. And so it is this alignment process that, can take a while, but it is so healthy. It's so healthy because it completely changes the conversation in these companies, how we're doing this together. Gary, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is, within, you talked about hours, and within just a few weeks, you can really start to get results that you can use to drive the business and change the way you're looking at things. And this discussion of using AI and being able to have more predictable forecasting, that's not a long implementation timeline for that to start. And as you continue to do it, and everything continues to learn from progress, hopefully you're improving conversion rates, and that becomes a part of the new model, and all of that builds on itself, and the benefits just continue to build.
Yeah, so we have, thank you for mentioning that, Jerry, because, we've built all of the purpose-built dashboards across marketing and pipeline conversion and sales and enterprise KPIs and sales hygiene and forecast accuracy and customer success and your ARR waterfall and your white space analysis and your customer health. They're already pre-built. And so I think our benchmark right now, Jerry, is about 8 days to turn on analytics across that
That's awesome.
stream.
That's awesome.
Okay, so I like this question. I love this question, in fact. How does this help with board level forecasting? So I like the board part in here.
Yeah.
So Jerry, I'll give that one to you.
Okay, thanks. So the kind of a two-part answer is what I would tell you, Dana. One is that when you have this type of forecasting based on the model, you're going to be much more predictable and have much more trustworthy forecasts. So at the end of the day, the board really doesn't want to do forecasting, right? They want to understand what you're going to deliver, when you're going to deliver it, and they're looking for you to be, a predictable business. And so this will give you that predictability. Then the board conversation turns into, okay, where can we invest? Now that you've got the business running the way that we want the business to run, and it's predictable and you're driving it, where is investment going to allow us to really move the needle and drive much greater growth? And that conversation changes, and the outlook forecast portion of the board meeting really shifts in focus and direction, and that's what everybody wants, the board included.
Fantastic. Okay. So we were going to try to keep this to 30 minutes, Jerry. I think we got close. But of course, we would love to talk with anyone on the call. If you'd like to reach out to us and talk about any of this further, you can visit our website, i-q.com, aye-q.com, or you can set up some time with us in our Calendly link. Jerry, thanks as always. Fun conversation, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, and a fun topic.